All right, today we're going to talk about happily ever after. Why? Because this is one of the most important concepts of our culture. All right? How many of you like it when the story is miserable? Most of us don't. Nope. Most of us say something is wrong if the story is miserable. All right? There is a thing that is misplaced. Well, you're not happy with the story. We're going to be done with it. All right? If Vin Diesel doesn't win at the end of the story and the bad guy gets him and shoots him and all of a sudden he doesn't have justice, we say that movie was awful. If at the end of the book the girl isn't recognized for the treasure she is and he turns around and walks away and leaves her without looking back, you want to throw the book in the garbage can. Why? Because we are romantics. Now, we have a cultural shift called Romanticism. Now, we have gone through in this class from ancient cultures. We've done Greece. We've done Rome. We've done the Middle Ages. We've done Shakespeare in the book. All right, and then we've hit neoclassical, and today it's Romanticism. Why? Because harsh reality stinks, right? Shakespeare was dealing with some harsh realities. Middle Ages were dealing with some harsh realities, and nobody liked it. I mean, granted, you had to laugh at half of it because life is funny. Life is sometimes very silly. Have you ever done people watching at the mall? If you just watch people, you will know life is pretty silly. Sometimes you need to comment on how silly it is, and you go up and tell them how silly they're being. Sometimes life is tragic. Well, the humanistic response was Romanticism. How do we respond to something that's so sad? Well, every young girl is brought up that one day her prince will come. And what every girl knows is the moment the story ends is the wedding, right? Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, Snow White, Little Mermaid. Everything stops at the wedding.
It starts the way it begins.
But the movie always ends at the wedding. Yeah. You never see the next day. All right, we're going to talk about that for a moment. So let me just tell you why not only is literature and movies and music and art and culture and everything we do is romantic, even we have a danger in our country. In fact, a danger around the world. Ready? The most dangerous thing to marriage today. Some of you might think it's sex. Some of you think it's finances. Some of you think it's communication. But no. There's something more dangerous. Do you know what this insipid, treacherous thing is called? The chick flick.
Chick-fil-A?
The chick flick. Why? Because the girl knows that's the chick flick. Because the girl knows that there is this amazing man, even if he's scruffy looking, like a Nerf herder, like Han Solo. At the end of the movie, the girl was with the guy. He sweeps her off her feet. They kiss. They have the wedding. Happily ever after, and we're done. Never does it show the princess the next morning. When all of a sudden, she doesn't have her makeup on. Ooh. And it never shows Prince Charming leaving his underwear at the end of the bed. And not forgetting that there is something called a clothes hammer. Right? And so, every young lady is now thinks the wedding day is it. We're going to have the happily ever after, the beautiful couple. And I was no exception. I was amazed every time. I met my husband in Bible college. We met, I can still remember the day, September 27th was the day we met. He asked me out January 19th. He asked me to marry him July 4th. I still wonder about the Independence Day thing, I'm not sure. And we were married December 20th. Ready? A year and 3 months after we met, we were married. Happily ever after. The perfect wedding. I couldn't believe it. I could see him from across the Bible college, because you had girls' dorms on one side, boys' dorms on the other side, and the whole college in between. All right? You had a chapel, you had classrooms, you had the music building, you had everything. And I could see him walking across the way. I could tell from the sea of men that were at the school, I could tell his particular little bob as his little head would come. And I was so excited, I'd get butterflies in my stomach. A year and 3 months, there were butterflies every time I saw this amazing, godly man. I'm thinking, Lord, you brought heaven right down to earth for just me, and nobody else gets him. He's mine. And guess what? I'm looking at him. We had the wedding. We had the honeymoon, which we couldn't afford anything, so we only went to Orlando for a day. Because we had no money, we were college students. We were broke. But it was beautiful. We were the richest people on earth because we had each other. It was amazing. We go up to South Carolina because I have a job. He's still in school. And all of a sudden I wake up one morning 3 weeks later and there's drool coming out of his face. And I look at him and I go, I don't have butterflies in my stomach anymore.
You didn't sign up for that.
I crept quietly out of the bed, picked up the phone, and called my mother, sobbing. She thought something had happened. Is Lance okay? Are you okay? Did something happen? Are you in a car accident? A Saturday morning, I wasn't working because it was Saturday. I go, Mom, I think I made a mistake. She goes, what are you talking about? I said, I married the wrong man. She goes, what do you mean? He's wonderful. You love Lance. I go, but I don't have butterflies today. And she goes, are you kidding? And I go, no. And all of a sudden, there is this cacophonous laughter. And my father comes running into the room where he's with her and over the phone. He goes, what happened? What happened? And she tells him, and now they're both cracking up laughing. I'm hearing them laughing. I'm sobbing harder. And now I'm wailing like a drudged cat. My sweet husband wakes up, looks at me, wipes the drool off of his face.
Oh, yeah.
Why are you crying? Who are you on the phone with?
Oh, yeah.
And I look at him and I go, I don't love you. And I cry even harder because now I'm stuck till death do us part. And I don't know what to do. And I am just flabbergasted. Flabbergasted.
You gotta tweak that
now,
story. You gotta tweak it.
I have not one but 2 bachelor's degrees. I have a pilot's license. I was a scuba diver, a pilot. I jumped out of airplanes. Nothing scared me except being stuck with him for the rest of my life. Because I looked at him and I didn't feel the butterflies. Because all girls know you see him and this is, and all you feel is butterflies.
That season
And
over.
my mother said, are you telling me you've had butterflies since the day you met? I said, since the day I met, and it went away this morning.
Oh,
And
yeah.
she goes, I can't believe God gave them to you that long.
Now you
And I
married.
go, are you kidding? I thought this is forever. She goes,
No.
Sky, that's not love. God gives you those to get you to the altar.
That's all.
Now, marriage is the rest of it.
Oh, yeah.
And I had a romanticized ideal of what marriage was like. Because I looked at my parents and they're so, let me just tell you, okay? They're coming up on 45 years in like less than a month.
Yeah.
Okay? 45 years. Those 2 are still madly in love. I'm glad that they aren't smooching in the library. Right? Because they're madly in love. And I'm thinking, but aren't you like that? My husband and I took on a very unusual thing. Instead of trying to hide it, we are bluntly honest. I'll wake up to him and I go, I don't like you today. He goes, do you need chocolate or a date? I said, I don't know. I really don't like you. He goes, maybe you need both. And by the end of the day, usually I'm like, you're just the best husband on the earth. And my mom looks at me and she goes, you've got a really good man to handle you. Because we have a romanticized ideal of what people are like and what relationships are like. And we all get it from Romanticism. All right. Let me just tell you, we're coming up on 20 years this December. We don't have butterflies very often anymore. We have something much, much better. And we are not only partners, best friends, but I can actually say a great marriage because we're just a little crazy. All right. And both of us love the Lord.
You say you're a little crazy?
Maybe a little bit more than a little. Okay.
A lot crazy.
But I'm going to tell you this. It's exciting. All of a sudden we realized that marriage wasn't based on the butterflies. It was on something so much more than that romanticized ideal than what we had. All right? And so you're going to see this in literature and all through our culture. We're going to start talking about this. All right. I'm going to give you a couple ideas. Where do you see it in culture from history? And today it's still spilling over into your culture and your niece's culture and your daughter's culture and your little kid's culture. It's all of them. All right. So this is a movie rendition of Anna Karenina. Anna Karenina was written by Leo Tolstoy in the Russian. You might think, wait a minute, isn't all Russian literature dismal and exhausting? And it's just like 800 pages of dry, cold winter. It is. However, Anna Karenina is an ultimate love story. She's married. All right, I can sum it up in a couple sentences. A frustrated, romanticized woman is stuck in a marriage she doesn't want to be in, sees a soldier, falls in love with him. They can't be together, so she throws herself under a train. Right there, Anna Karenina. Right? Because the romanticized ideal is If I can't have what makes my heart soar, there's nothing but death. And then in that death, we're going to have an eternal love, and there'll be that sort of sense of deepness, and you're exhausted because you're like, but she's dead.
Yeah. He moved on. He moved on.
He moves on, and he's ready to go. And so this is the concept of Romanticism, is just one, but you might think, okay, that's one thing, 1800s Russia, okay? But we still have it today, the Notebook. Every Nicholas Sparks book there is possible. In fact, I don't think you can find. Nicholas Sparks is an author for today's women. He actually lost his sister. She had died, and so that is the inspiration for him always writing about, the love interest dying. And this is a romance. If you want to talk about romanticism, ready? This is awesome. This is going to have you describe it. I love you. I have that special feeling. I love you too. I have that special feeling. We're so excited. We're so close. We finally found each other. Not feeling so well. And all of a sudden one of them dies. Okay? And all of a sudden you're like, seriously, I did this? I can't stand Nicholas Sparks movies because of that reason. Why? I don't care if it's Message in a Bottle to The Notebook. I don't care what it is, and I haven't watched all of them because they make me crazy. They finally find each other, and it's beautiful. And then one of them dies. I didn't even get to the wedding. I'm just one of them dies. Okay. So hold on. I have one for you here. A Walk to Remember. I'm actually going to pull that up for the thing. One of the best ones, and this is the perfect ideal of romanticism in modern culture, is A Walk to Remember. How many of you have ever seen it? Two.
I used to love watching that movie.
Great, great movie. It's the only one I like, but I'm going to tell you, this one is, when I saw it, I was like, I'm thinking, what can I actually show you guys tonight to give you like a clip of romanticism, and this is it. And this is made ready in 2002. Romanticism started at peaked. It started in the late 1700s. It peaked in the second half of the 1800s, so 1850 to 1900. And now we still have it in 2002. We're still having romanticized ideals. Okay, where are the origins coming from? You're going to have some intellectual movement that peaked during the second half of the 18th century. You guys will recognize Victor Hugo, Hunchback from Notre Dame. Notice I didn't put up the book one. I put up, ready, Disney's version of it.
Yeah.
Because, ready, isn't Disney all based on romanticism? Every one of the Disney movies ends at the wedding.
Yeah.
Right? They all find each other. It's happily ever after. Never seen the next part. Hunchback of Notre Dame is very interesting because romanticism also shows that it is a social response. All right? Here you have the hero of the story is one that is socially put down, socially despised. All right? It is because of society. He is a gentle, lovable soul. He'll save her. He wants to protect the bells. He's actually kept up in the church Notre Dame. So they have the Hunchback of Notre Dame. And it is instead a view of not only just people, but also society. In fact, Romanticism is a view of all of culture. It's going to not only have between an intimate relationship between men and women, it's going to deal between friends, it looks upon nature, it looks upon society, how governments work. And so let me ask you this. You guys were reading some of your Romanticism assignments this last week. What was the one that stuck out at you as the most idyllic? For many of your readings this last week. This week you had Wordsworth, you had, what did I give you? I gave you Wordsworth, I gave you Longfellow.
Ivanhoe.
I gave you Ivanhoe. I gave you Rip Van Winkle. I Wander Lonely as a Cloud. All right, so any of those parts that really stuck out at you? All right, we're going to come back to that, so be ready for that discussion. All right, origins. So not only are you going to have it based on here, dealing with one person who he is lovely even though he is kept away. Another one that Hugo does is Les Miserables. All right? You have a gentleman who gets out of prison. Why? Because for stealing bread, he's starving. And so what kind of culture is going to sentence someone to 17 years of prison because they're starving and they need a piece of bread? And that's how the book begins. If that's how something begins, you know it's going to be bad the rest of the way through. Right? Because then, on the same thing, he starts over a new life. Another side story is you have a young lady who she falls in love, but love is forbidden because they're not married. She ends up pregnant, and she hides away the child, the little Cosette, and she hides her away with a family that she thinks will be nice. Instead, they abuse the child, and they're horrible to the child. And she goes and she's found out, and they cut the hair and they trample on her, and she ends up dying of a broken heart. Why? Because if I can't have my romantic ideal, everything is lost. And that's why you have the beautiful song, I dreamed a dream, I dreamed a dream in days gone by, right? Because it's all my dreams are gone, all the hope is gone. I thought God would be more forgiving. Ouch. And so the romanticized ideal is that not only is mankind good, but God is harsh because I'm not getting what I think is owed. All of a sudden I'm not getting that thing that would make me the most happy. And an idealized concept of Scripture is, well, do we not still hold this today? Are there not people that say, well, I believe in God. God is loving. God is compassionate. My God is loving. I don't know what you're talking about. God is loving. I'm thinking, oh, Lord, please don't read Judges. You're going to have a problem. You know, or how about the part with Joshua? He goes, take that land and kill them. All right, take those cities and destroy them completely for those idol worshiping. And they go, that's not God. And I'm going, oh. Because it's not what I think God is, it's who God is.
Yes.
All right? And so when you look at God in Scripture and sin and justification through a romanticized ideal, all of a sudden it doesn't have the same weight. And now they are perverting Scripture the same way that Eve perverted God's words in the garden. Did God really say you can't touch anything in the garden? Oh no, we can have anything of it. For that one, we can't eat it or touch it. Ooh, Eve, be careful. They have a twist on it. And so this romanticized twist is actually going to lead to a whole new thinking, a whole new style of looking at God, and it's going to be a rejection of the Lord. Okay. For every person, there is a soulmate. Now, hold on. Is that what Paul says? No. Paul talks about the gift of singleness.
Yes,
but in Romanticism, every person, your end-all be-all is when you find the soulmate. All right? So, hold on. What happens to the person who never finds that soulmate? There's something wrong with me. All right, hold on. We'll get to that in a moment. But loneliness will finally be banished. I will find my ain true love, my one true being, my split apart.
That ain't true.
Okay? Marriage of reason is abolished. All right? And I see the marriage of reason. Royalty especially, but even more so, your peasantry, your people throughout history. All right? It was never, oh, he looks cute, or she looks great in that long dress down to her ankles. All right? This was not marriage. You had someone who arranged your marriages. Ready? This is pretty. Here. He's got position. She has money. Okay? We have a title. They have land. All right? Another way I heard a great speaker put it, she has a sheep, he has a goat. Perfect marriage. All right? Why? Because these were marriage of reason. These two will work together. They're about the same age bracket. He can provide. There you go. They're married. All right? There was a arranged marriage. I mean, even Rebecca. Thankfully, God had designed that ahead of time. But Rebecca, it wasn't like they got to meet each other, see each other. You don't know how she looked. You don't know how he looked. All of a sudden, you know, the slave went and got her. The servant went and got her, brought her back. Into the tent they go, married. So when this was a marriage of reason, all of a sudden changed. Instead of having the matchmaker, you know, the whole idea of Yensa, all right, matchmaker, make me a match. No. This is now gone. Why? Because catch and catch. All right, because now we have, oh, I have butterflies. I have butterflies, and he has butterflies too. And so now you have a feeling of instinct, that special feeling, that butterfly feeling is what is going to determine if we are a good match.
Do they still have butterflies?
Who?
Women?
All the time. Okay, hold on. This is what I call the danger of the chick flick. Why? Because chick flicks are an entire modern multi-million-dollar industry, if not more than that industry.
Chick-fil-A?
Chick flicks.
No, chick flicks.
Right, a movie is called a flick. Like a chick flick is a girl's movie. Okay? So you have your Julia Roberts, your Meg Ryan, you've got your Mandy Moore, your I don't know who the girls are today. Sandra Bullock. Okay? These are all chick flicks. Okay? The ultimate chick flicks, ready? Jane Austen is my personal favorite, and even though there's a danger of chick flicks, I read Jane Austen. I used to read Jane Austen every year, all 7 books. Okay? Why? Because there should be a summer reading for every person. All right? They're just phenomenal. Pride and Prejudice, Emma, Mansfield Park, Persuasion. These are all chick flicks. Why? Because you don't need to see this beautiful woman in skin tight things. You can see, ready? You can see the curve of her ankle.
That's all?
Oh, let me tell you, those elbows or wrists were some pretty racy stuff.
They had good lotion?
Actually,
There you go.
That's what she's talking about, the imagination.
oh, the imagination.
It was left to the imagination because it was. I mean, think about how they were wearing clothes in the 1800s. This was down. If you were above the ankles, you were racy. You were hussy.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, yes, sir.
Can I share a slight comparison?
Absolutely.
Being a soldier, being a year in Iraq, we were at a checkpoint, and then we have to check. We check the males, and the females check the females. But there was a lot of women that was dressed, and all you could see is like their eyes. And so like women would be coming in, and the guys would be like, "Ooh, she's nice!" Like, "Wow, did you see that one?" And you were like, back at home, you would be like, "What's this weird thing?"
And they will beautifully
And then-
do their makeup.
Yeah.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
But this is about how much you can see.
It's the eyes. You don't know how long, you don't know if they bald head or not.
No, you could tell.
No.
No, you probably can't.
And I'll tell you, in fact, even in some of our culture today, I have one of my closest girlfriends is Orthodox Jew, and all of her family, even though they go out and they look like they have their own hair, they have their own hair, but it's under a wig.
A wig?
Yeah, they have high-end wigs because they do not let their hair be shown to any other man but their husband. So that's actually even, I think today, I was amazed the first time someone literally started lifting it up. I'm like, whoa, that's not your hair!
And wig?
Yeah.
Was a young girl.
Because that is a propriety, they will not show their own hair. All right? All right. So what happens, though, if I don't find that special person, or I don't have that feeling for anybody? Maybe something's wrong with me. Maybe I should fake that special feeling. Another danger to our culture, right? Because all of a sudden now I have to pretend I like them, or maybe I like them a little bit, or, maybe I like them enough. I had a great talk with my 14-year-old this last year. She came and got me and said, "Mommy, let's go talk." And she goes, "I think I have a crush on a boy." And I'm going, "That's awesome, Leah. Let's go sit down and talk." And I said, "So tell me, how you feel about this person." And she goes, "I just love being around him." Good. That sounds wonderful. Well, tell me why. Well, he doesn't make me feel silly, and if I ever feel down, he gives me a hug, and we have great things to talk about. He's really funny, and he's just someone I really enjoy being with all the time, and he's just the best, coolest person. I really like him. He never makes me feel weird. And I talk a lot, and so I feel weird around other people, but around him, I can just be me. And I go, "Leah," I said, "that is so cool, but I think what you're feeling is that you found a best friend."